YouTube channel. This is Neema from Yours Only YouTube channel. Today in this video I would like to talk about obviously the book review of the book called The Courage to be Disliked and How to Free Yourself, Change Your Life and Achieve Real Happiness. And this book is written here. This is the book you can see. So this book is written by Ichiro Kishimi and Fumitake Koga. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, but this is the book. Let's get started with this review. I would like to start with giving a brief intro on what this book is about, and I would like to say this book consists of 272 pages, inclusive of the intro and afterword. And this book is consists of 5 chapters in terms of like they have written the book in terms of 5 nights. So the whole idea of this book is written in the form of dialogue, like the dialogue between a philosopher and a youth. So it's like more of a youth wants to understand how to be happy in life, and it kind of have a debatable conversation between the youth and the philosopher. This book is a distillation of Adlers Philosophy and ideas and teachings. So here in this book you will find out a lot of philosophy and teachings. So it's one of the main idea behind this book. And the author in the afterwards, the author has written like he has learned the whole concept of Adler philosophy, and wrote the book in coordination with the person who have given the introduction to the philosophy. So this is the overall intro of the book. The book starts with a question to be answered, that is how can one be happy? So till the end of the book you will see the youth questioning the philosopher in finding out what are the necessary things that a person needs to gain or learn in terms of being happy. So that's the whole idea of what the book is. So I'll go through each chapters. Like for example, there are 5 chapters like I already mentioned. So I'll go through each chapters in a brief and let you know what's the whole gist of the whole book. Yeah. So the first chapter is titled as Deny Trauma. In this chapter, the first point that I liked about in this chapter is it is not what you're born with, it is how you use your resources that you're born with. So it emphasizes the importance of how you utilize your talent or how you utilizes your resources that are available around you. So that is the one main important lesson I learned in this chapter. And another important lesson that I learned is Adler philosophy says that you cannot blame your trauma or any unsuccessful events on your past and still think about it and regret on it. So that's one thing I learned in this chapter. Second point is that the Adler's psychology of courage is mentioned in this chapter. So the Adler's psychology of courage says that unhappiness shouldn't be dependent on your past mistakes or past regret, and as well as the future. It says that you need to have the courage to be happy irrespective of your past mistakes or any circumstances that it signifies your failure. So those are the things that I truly liked in this chapter. And yeah, it was the chapter is divided into several few lessons, and these are the 2 points I literally got connected with and wanted to share it with you. So the second chapter is like the youth has gone and came back after few days. He came back, and this is the second night, and it's a discussion between the youth and the philosopher. So here the title provided in this chapter is All Problems Are Interpersonal Relationship Problems. So the first thing that I liked about this chapter is the philosopher emphasizes the importance of encouragement. So in here he signifies that how you can accept yourself as you are, and regardless of the outcome you need to take the step forward and try to do the action. So that's the whole idea of being encouraging yourself, and I liked it a lot because a lot of us take a step backward, right, if you're not that confident enough. So this is one point that I liked in this chapter, that the philosopher emphasized. And the other point that is shared in this chapter is very surprising for me, because it says inferiority complex is an excuse. I haven't heard anything like that, because inferiority complex is being treated as a lack of something, so a feeling of lack of something, right? So here in this book, the philosopher says that people tend to make this inferiority complex as an excuse to get rid of doing some work. So, for example, that person himself or herself would say that I'm not worthy or I'm not equipped enough to do certain things. So it actually says the fact that he is not sacrificing his own personal comfort, and he wants to take some extra roles or something to do that role, right, do the task. The philosopher explains that in a story format, and he says so the basic ideology is that people who tend to say I have inferiority complex, I can't do that. It basically says that he feels that instead of taking more uncomfortable situation or being in uncomfortable situation, it's better to blame others and say I'm not good enough. So that's what it's been mentioned here, and it's basically like inferiority complex is an excuse. The third chapter is again the youth has gone back home and then comes back after a few days and visits the philosopher, and it's the third night of their discussion. So here the chapter is named as is titled as discard other people's task. So in this chapter, the whole idea of the chapter, I noted 2 points which I liked is recognition. So the philosopher says that one should not do work for recognition. I mean, in order to receive recognition. So it was quite surprising here also, because all of us work for getting recognized, right? Let it be a work, or let it be in a family, you want to do certain things to be recognized, to be appreciative. So here the philosopher says that if you tend to be that way, like if you live a life to be recognized, it seems like you are living a life of the other people. Like for example, I work on a particular task, and even if it is not what I like to do, and if I give 100% or 200% effort on the task in terms of getting a recognition, then I'm just doing what the other person needs to do rather than what I need to do, right? So that is what has been focused here in the philosopher has signifies here. So ideally, we are not supposed to live a life in terms of getting recognized. It's like you need to do what you want to do rather than what others want to do. And the second thing is the which caught my mind is the separation of tasks. So in this chapter, I noticed philosopher talks on how you need to separate your task with the others and not to indulge upon others' task. And the story is illustrated in terms of a parent and a child. Like for example, a kid has to do his own homework, and I mean, like he has to study, right? So a parent should not have the shouldn't indulge in the kid's comfort area and force the kid to do his own task, because that's not what the kid needs. And so there should be a very important line marked between people's task, and that's what is conveyed here in terms of separation of tasks. And it was important because as I see in many family surroundings, this has to be followed, and it is a great thinking by the philosopher, basically, to have the separation of tasks to better analyze yourself, right? So as a parent, you can govern the kid but not indulge the kid or force the kid to do certain tasks. So the kid himself or herself should do the task if he is interested or not. So that has been emphasized here. So next comes the fourth chapter. So in the fourth chapter, this is again the youth goes back home and comes back to visit the philosopher in the fourth night, and the discussion is predominantly around community feeling. Here, as you can see earlier, it was like talking about the self. The first three chapter was how an individual can analyze himself or herself to attain happiness, and now in the fourth chapter, it goes towards the community. Like for example, being with others. So here the philosopher says that you need to make a switch between having the self analysis towards the commitments to others. So in this, they say that it is it is required for everyone to have a community and give an active commitment towards a community to have the sense of belonging. So basically here is what has been conveyed is the sense of belonging in terms of community. So that's when you know your purpose, and that's when you know what you want to do in life. So that has been hugely emphasized in this chapter, and I feel that is true in one perspective, because only when you feel you are in a community, or you're doing something, actively participating in a community, you feel the urge to do for others, right? So having been part of several communities myself, I feel that's entirely true. So that's something that I wanted to share from this chapter. So the final chapter is the fifth chapter, which is again the fifth night and the last night that the youth and the philosopher spends time with. And the chapter is titled as "To Live in the Earnest of Here and Now." So as the title says, it's here and now. So it's all about present moment. And something that really caught my eye is the small chapter within this chapter is the not self affirmation but self acceptance. So having practicing all the affirmations for entire life, I felt this is so important, because okay, affirmations are important. You need to talk to yourself being you are the best and you are worthy enough, but it is also important that you accept yourself. That is called a self acceptance. You need to know who you are and accept who you are, because you you have certain talents that others do not have, and others would have some other talents that you do not have. So it's okay to be like that, and that's what the importance of self acceptance comes in. So that's been emphasized here. And second thing is, life is not a line. It says that the philosopher tells it literally, like life is not a line but a series of dots. I liked it a lot, because here dots are signifies as moments, and life is basically a series of moments that are in whole called life, right? So the philosopher suggests the youth to concentrate on present moments that together forms a life, right? So that is very important, because every one of us go behind for a future or a goal or something, but in order to have that goal, or in order to attain the goal, if you focus on the present, and would literally reach the goal, right? So I like the whole idea of this chapter, and that was all about it in terms of 5 chapter. At the end, the philosopher finally answers the question to how can one find happiness. So the answer is nothing but the courage to be disliked. So as I already mentioned, the title is Courage to be Disliked. So here the courage to be disliked is being specified as the initiative of not having the overthinking thought of being recognized. Second is separation of tasks. Third is inferiority complex is an excuse. And all of these all signifies that you should have the courage to be disliked, in terms of you don't have to care when people don't like you or not, because obviously in this entire universe not everyone is going to like you, right? So that courage will help us to lead a happier life. So that is all. So those are the briefs that I would like to share about the book. So let's get started with the review. For the review, I would say first thing I like about is the format. So it's a dialogue format, and it's a discussion between a youth and a philosopher. And I must say the youth questions a lot the philosopher in terms of what we have. Like basically, when I was reading through the whole book, I too had certain questions, and it was literally the youth literally asked that questions also. So the author has literally taken the has taken in mind the thought process of a reader, and then applied it in this whole format. So I liked a lot about this whole dialogue format, because it made us I felt like I was also questioning the philosopher while reading the book. So that's something that I liked about in this book. Second thing is, like, the book is really hard to understand. That I must point out, because this book talks a lot about the Adler's philosophy, and not everybody would be interested in knowing. I mean, not more than in getting interested, it will be like not everybody would understand it, and I was one among them. So I had to read few lessons by the philosopher twice, and understand what it was, because certain things were very hard for me to understand. So that was one thing. And the third thing I would like to say is this book. I literally had some disagreements with the book's teaching, in terms of there is a point that philosopher makes, that if somebody wrong if somebody wrongs you, that is, for example, if somebody cheats on you or does something bad to you, the other person shouldn't be receptive about it, and should treat the same person as the same. I mean, I don't think that's possible for any human being, because we all have emotions, and we'll surely be away from that person, right? So that was something I couldn't agree, but I understand the philosopher's teaching, but that is really hard for me. The fourth thing was, certain topics in my house we had a lot of conversation. So when I was reading this whole book, this led me to have a debate in my family. So I was having discussion with my family, like my mom and my sister, and we kind of had a debate. So this book stirred a lot of debatable topics. So I would say convey such a big, huge lessons, where I myself, usually I don't talk to people about what I read, but the lessons that I read from this book made me to uh, talk to others, and there were disagreements, but still it was constructive discussion. So yeah. And the final review I would say is, this book I don't think everybody will read, because as I said, some of the lessons are really hard to understand. But if a person who's like starting to read books, or looking forward to take up reading books as a habit, this book wouldn't be a right choice, because it is hard to understand. First thing is, it has huge number of pages. Second thing is, it is hard to understand. You need to understand what's the philosophy behind, and uh, the vocabulary is also very tough. So you need time to like literally read through the book, understand the lessons, and sometimes if you don't understand, you need to read it twice. So sometimes this book wouldn't be the right book for people who are starting to read. And I would suggest you to read some other books, and if once you come across this book in terms of you being an advanced reader, then this book is a very helpful book. But overall, I think this book wouldn't be a good book when you're starting to read. So that's all, guys. My reviews are all these points. And so for the recommendations, I would say, in terms of lessons, definitely I would give 5. But in terms of the language used, and the technicalities involved, I would say 3 to 4, because as a whole audience, I would say this book would be tough to read. But the concepts given are really highly uh, important. Like, for example, some of the lessons I personally took it into my heart, so I would try to incorporate in my life. So that's all, guys, for the book review. Thank you for hearing all along to the video. Do let me know if this recommendation was helpful, or if this review was helpful. You can find certain previous videos that I've uploaded in my playlist. That's all for this video. Hi guys, so if you like this video, please do like, share and subscribe, and let me know which book do you like me to read, and provide reviews, so that you let me know if the book title, so that some of the books I might have already read, I would like to give reviews on that. So yeah, keep following, and I will upload few videos whenever I finish reading some books. Yeah, until next time, signing off.